Welcome to Hardiman House and to episode 6, season 2 of Let the Ancestors Speak. Today we're going to be talking about dining room tables, Sunday dinners, good manners, and the social history of dirt. What I'm going to do is share some of the Hardiman House artifacts and collectibles and talk to you from a point of view of my background as a scholar of Ancient Kemet and Traditional Africa and African diaspora, as well as Western medieval civilization. The dining room table in most Black houses is a very special place. It is a place where distinguished guests are entertained, where families converge, and when you have Sunday dinners. Sunday dinners were a big thing in my house on Hamlin Road in Buffalo, New York. Our family, which consisted of, at various times, my Uncle PH, who was the elder in the family, my mom, my dad, myself, and later Selma. And Sunday dinners were always very special. Both in my generation and in Salma's generation, we learned patience because Uncle PH used to give the longest prayers in the world, at least 15 or 20 minutes, and we would be rolling our eyes, but we were being respectful, and so we tried not to fidget, but dived into the food as soon as he was finished. Now, Uncle PH was born in Pocahontas, Mississippi, and he left, this is my Uncle PH, quite a handsome man, and he was the baby boy of 3 very doting sisters, so he was very spoiled. So he and my Aunt Leona left Pocahontas and moved to Chicago, to the South Side, where he lived until his wife, Aunt Baby, died, and then he came to live with us. And here's a family portrait of my mom, my dad, there's Selm, there's me, and there's Uncle PH, the patriarch. And so our home was like many Black homes. It was intergenerational. There was no notion of taking our relatives and putting them away into homes and that were sterile, but the tradition was to bring them inside and to be able to sit around the table and learn from their wisdom. At the dining room table, it was our private academy for training. It was where you learned basic skills about how to listen, how to interact, how to look people straight in the face when you were talking with them. You learn skills about how you could make people feel hospitable in your home. You learn skills about how you could negotiate the outside world. And you learn skills about who you were. And you were totally affirmed at the show and tell that was in your dining room. In our dining room on Sunday dinners, my mom used to play classical music and my dad used to tell stories about how he almost went to the Olympics, except for the fact that he got beat by the next door neighbor, who just so happened to be Jesse Owens. Good times and good memories were held at the dining room table. These are some of the plates from my mom's china collection that she would put on the table at our house in Hamlin Road. And so we learned etiquette, we learned manners, and as such, it connected us with the African tradition of protocol and rituals, because the very rituals that we were practicing at our house in terms of how one conducted themselves, how one developed good character, were the same rituals that had been conducted for centuries and centuries and centuries. Traditional African houses did not necessarily have dining rooms. If you look back at the furniture in traditional or ancient Africa, you see people had chairs, They had stools. This is a small version of a larger kind of stool used by the icon people. The very, very ornate ones were the ones that the royalty sat on, but everyone had a stool. In fact, the nation was fought over a stool. When the British came in and tried to steal the Ashanti stool, and the people rose up and got the stool back. Stools were very important. So stools were in the house in traditional Africa, as well as headrests. People generally didn't eat at tables. They ate on mats that were on the floor. Usually people had bowls. There was a common plates or common pots, and people were served from. It was very collective. It was very communal, and it was very, very hygienic. In fact, because people were eating on the floors of houses were swept out daily. Because people were, in fact, using their hand-washing rituals were very, very important. In fact, it was considered a heinous crime if you shook somebody's hand with the hand that you had wiped yourself with. Not only were people concerned about notions of cleanliness in terms of hand washing and floor washing, etc., but even in terms of oral hygiene, people, all the way back to Ancient Kemet, they found twigs and branches that people had used to clean their teeth, and also absinthe powder that they used to whiten their teeth. So we were very, very into how one carried themselves. This way of living was very, very different than the way that was being led in medieval Europe, which was the time in which the plagues started coming heavy. Our African ancestors understood about the importance of bathing and hygiene, and so it was a customary part of the culture. They even understood about aromatherapy and would put different herbs in the waters in the baths in order to not only nurture the body but to also nurture the spirits. When the Romans came over and observed this, they understood what an important thing it was, because they too were urban society that lived a public life, that did a lot of collectivity and people moving close. So baths became a really big thing in Rome. And in fact, it became such a big thing that it kind of went out of the way and became very luxurious and very decadent. And so when the Christians took over, whatever was Roman, they did not want to do, including bathing. So when you got the monastic period and the ascetics coming in, they thought that anything to do with the body was pure vanity. So they did not bathe. In fact, they bragged about it. There's a book that it's a great book called Dirt, The Social History as Seen Through the Uses and Abuses of Dirt. And they talk about how even when Thomas of Becket, who everybody thinks of as this monk who was just so pure, when he died and they took off his woolen coat that he was wearing, and then he had a hair shirt underneath him because you're supposed to punish yourself in your body, and under that he had another shirt, and then they went to take off another shirt, but it wasn't a shirt. It was fleas and vermins and things like that. He had a whole layer of them on his body. That was creepy crawly for me. But that wasn't just that instance of people in monastery life not practicing good hygiene during the medieval period, not washing their hands. But even those elaborate headdresses that you see in those Elizabethan times, with the ladies have, like the ones even like George Washington and people did, they didn't wash those. And they had them on their bodies for like 6 months, and they would just put powder on it and just cake it up. So it is a good thing that our parents taught us about basic Black home training, that taught us about the importance of cleanliness, the importance of being able to interact socially and politely and respectfully around the dining room table or around the world. So, what do the ancestors have to tell us? Well, just like in traditional Africa, where we washed our hands before any important event, our ancestors are telling us to remember the teachings and to wash our hands, and that self-care is not a vanity. It's a commitment to humanity. It's understanding that our actions affect other people. And so we must take the lessons that we learned from our ancestors. We must take the lessons that we learned from the dining room table. And these times we're moving, but the ancestors want us to maybe stop grazing our food, but start raising our family and our communities. Ashe. Remember, like, share, and subscribe.